will a local expert make of this two-bed flat that came with a guide price of £90,000? We asked one from the auction house that sold the property for his thoughts and valuations.
As you can see, this property has already undergone some work, and I would imagine that this would really appeal to investors looking to rent it out, or even owner-occupiers that are quite happy to have one main bedroom and one maybe smaller child's bedroom. It doesn't feel like there's an awful lot more to do here, but you can see that there's still a few £1,000s worth of works before this is ready to be lived in.
The expert agrees that extending the lease would be necessary if the buyer hoped to sell the property in the future. So with this in mind, how much does he think he could achieve once renovated with an extended lease on the sales and rental markets?
Once this flat has been refurbished to a good standard and the lease has been extended, then this should fetch between £180,000 to £200,000 on the open market. And from a rental perspective, you'd be looking to get between £1,300 and maybe £1,400 per calendar month.
But what will the auction expert who viewed it on our first visit make of the changes? We've asked him back for his take on this updated two-bed flat.
So since I was last here, the flat has been renovated. Looking at the layout, it is very much for a rental market. They've left it as a two-bed, which makes sense from a rental perspective. They're obviously looking at the possible rental values as a two-bed.
So the flat is fit for purpose, but what does the expert make of Amajit's and Tarinda's decision to hold off on the lease extension?
Having a short lease flat, if you're going to keep it long-term and rent it out, that's fine. I mean, you just let the lease run down. At some point in the future, they will probably want to sell it or have at least a longer lease to give them the option to sell it, and in which case they'll have to deal with it in the future. And of course, the longer you let the lease run down, the more expensive that lease extension will be. However, of course, with current rule changes possibly in the offing next year, maybe that's not the case. So they're probably being quite smart not doing anything with the lease extension for the time being and seeing how the new laws take effect next year anyway.
Extending the lease will be essential if the father and son ever decide to sell. And the upcoming reforms in England and Wales should make it cheaper and easier for people to extend their lease or buy their freehold. So waiting a little longer could save money in the long term. But how much could they achieve on today's sales market if the lease was extended?
If this flat had a longer lease, I would say it's probably worth around the £185,000 mark, something like that.
But what are the potential rental returns?
For rental values, you're looking at somewhere between £1,300 per calendar month and £1,400 per calendar month.